While many Nigerians expected the All Progressive Congress APC to chart the course of democratic rebirth in Nigeria, it is rather immersed in one controversy or another. It appears that the ruling APC is finally ready to conduct its presidential primaries. The APC National Working Committee, NWC, has unveiled a list of 18 chairmen of head of subcommittees for its special convention slated for the 6th of June. According to the list released by the APC National Publicity Secretary, Felix Morka, 7 APC governors are to head various committees. Among them is Governor Babajide Sanwo Olu of Lagos State as chairman of Finance and Logistics Subcommittee, while Governor Dapo Abiodun of Ogun State will chair the Accreditation and Decoration Subcommittee. Others are Governor Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State, who takes charge of Security and Compliance Subcommittee, while Kebbi State Governor Abubakar Atiku Bagudu heads Election Planning Subcommittee, among others. Meanwhile, reports of the screening of presidential aspirants by the party is ready, but the APC national officials and the governors are divided over the plan by President Muhammadu Buhari to pick his preferred presidential candidates for the party. Julie, let's start with this. Last week, when we entered Abuja, the snippet was like, look, these guys are not ready to conduct that because they did not have the subcommittees in place. Nothing on ground, no activities on ground. And my correspondent kept telling me that they are not going to hold this convention. So we had Femi Akonde in INEC, and political parties went to INEC, pressurized INEC, till INEC buckled. So what we have now is now we know that they don't have a choice again. They must hold this thing on Monday.
They run out of time.
They don't have any choice.
They run out of time. The little window that INEC had for clerical work is what they have taken. So they've denied INEC that little breather in the aftermath of primaries. So there's nowhere to run to again. You've taken all that is available. So what do you then do next? You have to do what is right. Go ahead and do your primaries. Your primaries always take eternity to take place. Your convention takes eternity.
It's always rocket science.
Go ahead now and do this. You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. There is time ceiling for all of these things. There is time ceiling as stipulated by the law. So you can't go outside the law to do anything if you are not looking for trouble. So what is left now is they should go and do the primaries. They were clearly looking for a way to simply do a consensus. The choice of 2 or 3 persons, including the president, suddenly will be announced as the consensus candidate. But this is not a party elective position. The position is that of standard bearer for the party in the national election, the biggest national election. You can't, 2, 3 persons can't just decide for everyone. If 2, 3 persons decide for everyone, then they have to bear the consequences that come with that. If you try to do that and you naturally anger people in the process, they will leave the party in droves. They will work against the party. The same way party members worked against the party in several states in 2019, causing them to lose states like Adamawa, Bauchi, and the rest of them that we can't be talking about here. But they know that they lost because of disunity in the party. If they do not undo this matter very well, then the inevitable will happen. Somebody, I was discussing with someone, he said, I don't like Atiku. I've never liked him. My mind keeps going to what Obasanjo wrote about him in his book. He said, but it's looking like this is Atiku's year. I said, everyone will have his own day in the sun. No matter how bad a person is. There is no one created by God who does not have a redeeming feature. A time will come when your luck will just shine on you. So perhaps just in the language of that person, not me. It's not my time to do, it's not time to predict. Perhaps in the language of that person, this is Atiku's day in the sun. His day in the sun has probably come. Because if the APC does not get this right, and I'm happy that people are already raising alarm to the president, cutting across ethnic divide, they are warning that if we impose a candidate on us that is not popular, we will lose the election. So this is the thing, we've been talking about this for days, because it's the truth. If they don't get their choice right, and you are facing a formidable candidate, people can say all what they like. In fact, I saw one girl who probably does not know anything about politics saying that any candidate from the APC would defeat Atiku. And Atiku that the president only beat with less than 4 million margin. He beat him with less than 4 million margin. Atiku that won 17 states to the president's 19. And also won Abuja.
He won in Ondo State, he won in Oyo State in the southwest.
If we are to count Abuja as a state, that means he won 18. The president won 19. That is the person that you are telling me that whoever the APC brings will be defeated. That person clearly demonstrated the symptoms of a scrambled head.
Ignorance.
Because you can't just be thinking like this and putting such emptiness on public space.
Formidable.
It's formidable, no doubt about it. If we go ahead, we can only advise. After a while, we'll keep quiet and watch them. We warned them back then, they didn't listen. So we can only warn and just pull back. Because the time will come, people will say, can't you go? So we just watch them and see what they want to do.
Now, looking at the way the People's Democratic Party went about their convention, in spite of a day before that, INEC announced that extension, and we thought they were going to take debates, but they stood their ground and they gave us a lovely, almost age-free convention in Abuja. And the whole world saw how transparent, how organized the convention was. So the onus is now on the ruling party and say, look, you have to surpass or beat this, standard.
That is true. Anyone who watched the PDP convention, would attest to what you have said. Outwardly, it was I like that fantastic. Word. Yeah, outwardly. Yeah, I'm being very careful. Yeah, so many other things could have taken place behind the doors. We saw what appeared to be a very well organized convention. No rancor, transparency. Was quite high, and you could tell, the way the votes went, that a lot of work had been done, behind. So APC has a tough task ahead of it, and that is to convince Nigerians that as a ruling party that they can indeed offer something better. That is the expectation. But Ayo, you and I know that what we have had so far is basically an intra-class struggle. People have been at daggers drawn as to how they can go about, acquiring power. It would seem that they have exhausted themselves, and that is why they can no longer, push for an extension in dates and all that. So here we are. They have a couple of days ahead to impress Nigerians, and that will send a very clear signal, as to what the party will be able to do ahead of the 2023 polls. So I think that the first clear signals that we're going to have a convention is the setting up of the committees. And we hope it will be rancor-free. It's clear, the signals that we get from Mr. President, that he wants to choose, who will succeed him. And some of us have very strong reservations about that word. He cannot impose anyone on the rest of the country. What he can do is to nominate within the limits of his party, and then he can go about it the way he wants, but not to tell Nigerians that he wants to choose his successor. He can't tell Nigerians who his successor will be.
Let me try to play the devil's advocate here. The president has, he has been there 7 years, and there are some projects he has initiated and some things, and nobody will want to see that after exiting from office, that you see the kind of reversal. That's what Yar'Adua did during Olusegun Obasanjo's time. They were just reversing some policies, the sales of the refineries and everything, and no one wants to see that. You want somebody that can protect your interests, can protect your this thing. And are we saying the president does not have a right to a say in who is going to succeed him?
He can have someone that he prefers to succeed him, and he can work with the governors, appeal to all stakeholders. Gentlemen, this is my choice. You then walk behind the lines to ensure that your choice prevails. It's not in your place to say you want to choose your successor. In fact, that's an insult to the Nigerian voter. It's an insult to the Nigerian voter for a president to say, I want to choose who succeeds me. No, that power is not in your hands. The power to determine who succeeds you resides in the voter. And I've said, as popular as J.J. Rawlings was, as popular as he was, one of the greatest leaders to come out of Africa, the first military ruler to hand over power to civilians. I know that people will think it's Obasanjo. It's not Obasanjo. It's actually Jerry Rawlings. Jerry Rawlings' own came before Obasanjo's own. People should check. He couldn't get his own choice to succeed him. Because when he brought his deputy, the man who was vice president to him for 8 years, the Ghanaians rejected that person. But so no matter how popular you are, it's still the choice of the voter.
There's one argument, people in, on the social media, they are saying, if it's good for Lagos, why is it not good for Nigeria? That if the leadership of Lagos has been structured since 1999, that the leadership determines who gets what at the highest level, that's the governorship and the senatorial level, that why can't President Muhammadu Buhari do the same thing?
First and foremost, at the time when Asiwaju badly wanted, what's his name? Fashola to succeed him, Asiwaju was struggling to survive politically. He was struggling to survive politically. PDP had surrounded Lagos.
I remember.
It was by the grace of God that they didn't even take Lagos. They were close to taking Lagos.
2007.
They had plotted how to take Lagos. We can't talk a lot about some of the things that we know.
The president located Donald Barak there.
He needed to do his best to put Fashola there so that his own political future can be guaranteed. That was why he did it at that time. There is no time that Asiwaju unilaterally just picked an individual and said, this will be my successor. They will go through an election. They defeated
Amzat,
the
deputy governor now,
Shashore, and the rest of them. We are not saying don't have a preferred person. It's normal. It's normal.
But they must go through the poll.
Let them do an election. If you work hard enough, what Asiwaju does that they don't do is that he exploits his extensive contacts to reach out to people who will then ensure that his choice prevails. Not that he will just drive his choice down the throats of people like a woman force feeding a child. That's not what we want to see.